All right, man. Cool. So, we'll just kind of go right into it. Episode 9. I think we're doing Edgar Wright, and again, thanks for being here. Right before we start, we were talking about Last Night in Soho. Haven't seen it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see it in theaters, but like, has it just gotten released out there?
Yep, it came out I th- this past weekend. This is its opening weekend right now, on Sunday. But yeah, I haven't been able to see it either. I'm gonna try to see it sometime soon.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah,
yeah. From what I
don't know how it's
understand,
going.
yeah, from what I understand, it's also like it's been getting some like mixed to positive reviews. It's probably going to be one of more Edgar Wright's more cult like films. Like it's going to get this kind of mixed reviewing, but then kind of get like a nice watching, probably similar to like Pilgrim versus the World in the subsequent years. But it feels like also probably the least Edgar Wright of his movies, just kind of
Yeah,
like breaking that sort of genre sort of
that's kind
deal.
of the impression I got too. I don't know how Edgar Wrighty it'll be.
Yeah, well, it doesn't really seem like a comedy. It seems like a more like kind of like toned down like kind of horror or like and it's also very more like kind of inspired to be this kind of like sort of surrealist that sort of like horror film. Like if you ever see like Don't Look Now, I think it's supposed to be very reminiscent of that. If you've ever heard of it.
I haven't seen it,
Oh, okay,
but
good movie, but like it's supposed to be very kind of like a little bit like strange and like difficult to follow, but very kind of stylistic. But that's the kind of vibe that I'm kind of getting from Last Night in Soho. But I don't even know what it's really about. Like I've been kind of like staying away from like any plot spoilers or anything like that.
yeah, I mean, from watching the trailer many times, I feel like I have a good gist of it. But yeah, I mean, it does seem like a very surrealist, like kind of like out there story. Um, I don't know. I'm just excited for Taylor-Joy
Hmm.
from
Yeah.
Queen's G,
Hmm.
Queen's Gambit.
Yeah. I'm more of a witch man, to be quite honest. But what is it? I There's also Abigail Breslin is in it as well. Is that correct? And then Doctor Who, Matt Smith.
Yeah, Abigail Breslin, is she the one from TT's last one? That like the
Um,
main character?
well, like she's Little Miss Sunshine. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the lead in that, like she was the kid in that one, the lead.
I I've seen it, but I don't know. It's been years since those movies, so I don't.
Hmm. Gotcha.
She's the one in Jojo Rabbit, right?
No, she wasn't in Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, what's her name again?
Abigail Breslin isn't that the second lead? Because it's Anya Taylor-Joy and some other actress, and I'm pretty sure it's Abigail Breslin.
I don't actually think it is her.
It isn't her because there's a second lead in that film, and I'm feel bad that like I
I
don't know it.
I think it's the Jojo Rabbit girl.
If not, then like I feel bad. Sorry to Abigail Breslin and the other girl. I'm sorry. I totally dropped the ball on that one. But now that I'm thinking about it, I think you are right.
Yeah, Thomasin McKenzie.
Thomas and Mackenzie. Okay, yeah, you are right. Yeah, she played. Yeah, because she was the stowaway, right? In that
Yep.
film. Gotcha. Okay, now pieces are coming together. I don't know what the hell I was thinking.
Yeah.
All right. Well, obviously we can't really talk Last Night in Soho considering like not neither of us have seen it. I can't see it. I'm trying like first chance I can, I will, but like I gotta wait.
Have you seen Leave No Trace?
No, I have not.
She was also in that, and I've seen that a couple times. It's like this like PG rated like really indie film of like a man and her daughter like living in the woods alone and
Okay,
how they just want to live there.
all right. I see that it's Ben Foster. The only film
Yeah.
I think I've seen Ben Foster in though was probably Hell or High Water. That he was fucking spectacular in it, but just no, I have not seen that movie.
Gotcha. It got good reviews. I thought it was, is solid, but nothing to speak home about. But
Gotcha.
that's just another thing she was in.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we've talked a little bit about Last Night in Soho. Again, we can't really speak much to it. But let's kind of go into the early times of Edgar Wright. So I think I want to talk a little bit about space, but like I know maybe like you haven't really seen many of it. I think I've tried showing you an episode or two.
Yeah, I've seen an episode or two through you, but tell me about it.
Yeah, so it's essentially like Edgar Wright is like in his early 20s, just kind of like I think he was doing like, little short films here and there. He just released a feature called A Fistful of Fingers, and that's a parody of like Sergio Leone westerns. And he ends up meeting the two leads, Jessica Hines and Simon Pegg, while directing an episode of some other show that they did prior. I'm blanking on the name, but it was like a sort of like a comedy show. And then through those three of them, they developed a script for a sitcom, which written by Jessica Hines and Simon Pegg, and they're basically just these two. They pretend to be a couple so they can get this apartment, like because this apartment will only take like couples. So they pretend to be this couple so they can get in this apartment, and then that's essentially kind of the premise of the show, just like their day-to-day livings in this apartment, just like a weird neighbor here and there, like some weird characters. Nick Frost is in the show as well. But it shows a lot of the kind of stylistic like beginnings of like Edgar Wright movies, because it was before Shaun of the Dead and like Hot Bus and everything. It was like the early 2000s. I think it was like 99 to 2001. But it's a totally fun sitcom for like nerds because there's a ton of like movie homages in it, and then like they're totally into like geek culture, and it's funny. Like there's a lot of like puns, like the same sort of like editing and kind of like crash zooms that you find in Edgar Wright movies, and it's all in there for like an extremely cheap budget. Like it doesn't really, I would say, visually look super interesting considering it's shot on tape, but it's still inspiring considering like it's still like the kind of like the scrappy beginnings of like probably the best comedy director working right now.
So some of the visual characteristics were kind of were in there, began in this TV show.
Yeah, like it was like it was starting to become like very refined, and it was like polished. What really was becoming like kind of like really finding like the aesthetics and working well was in Space, but it became fully polished in Shaun of the Dead. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So totally worth checking out.
How was like the editing in Spaced? Was
it's this
like the movies?
Mm-hmm, it's exactly the same thing. You kind of have this kind of like wacky crash zoom, like hyper stylized editing, like, and even like the transitions. It's really in the transitions that's like it feels very much like Edgar Wright, and it's also like cleverly over the top in the right ways. That's what I mean by like the transitions of like if you look at say like Shaun the Dead or like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the transitions are what's going to sell it. Like also if you go to Every Frame of Painting, like I think he was the one that talked about like Edgar Wright on transitions. Is that right? Or it was something like that.
You're right.
So I feels like that's where the editing of Edgar Wright like also came into play as well. Like because that's where I feel like the films polished that even more, and that's where it was really like honed in. That was more the beginnings of it.
Was this a BBC show?
I don't know. Maybe I really don't remember. But again, it feels like a nice sort of prologue to the Cornetto trilogy. So if you ever want to watch it, like I think all the episodes are actually on YouTube or like through IMDb for free. It might be on Amazon as well. So and it's pretty easy. I think it's only like 20 half-hour episodes.
Oh yeah, that is pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's kind of cool that he was like given that freedom to like work on his style.
Yeah, and it was also like 24, 25 already like making like something like pretty substantial.
Was there Do you remember, was there like a plan to do more seasons of that, or was it like a one and done kind of thing?
I think it was like The Office. It was just like I think after the first season, they took a little bit of a break, but there was like, okay, we're gonna go into it second season, but then I think that's it. I don't think they wanted to do more than two. And plus, Edgar Wright wanted to do Shaun of the Dead. Actually, the idea of Shaun of the Dead came from one of the episodes in space. Edgar, yeah, like Simon Pegg's character, he was playing Resident Evil in the game, like in the show. He was playing like just
Okay.
playing the video games, and they just started like tripping out on I think speed, and just started having like a total like real life experience with zombies, and then from that they grew on the idea of like making a zombie movie, which became Shaun of the Dead.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Now, kind of going forward, like when was the first time you probably saw like an Edgar Wright movie, or like when did you first think you became aware of him?
I don't actually know. Sometime in college, really.
Mhm,
That's the best I can get.
mhm,
I think I probably saw I think I saw Hot Fuzz first. That was my first Edgar Wright movie.
mhm.
And then I went back and I saw yeah, the other one, Shaun of the Dead, um, A World's End.
I think I showed you The World's End. I think we watched that together one night.
Yeah, that was that might have been around the time kind of when I was getting into it.
Mhm.
But yeah, how about
Uh,
you?
mhm. So I think, well, I don't remember the first time I watched Shaun of the Dead, but I remember it always being on like Comedy Central. Like it was always just like one of those movies that just it was always edited, but it was always on like Comedy Central, so I would always watch it. And but I didn't think I knew who Edgar Wright was till probably I was about 18 or 19. Then I ended up watching Hot Fuzz and then watching Scout Pilgrim. And then I think it was around like about 21. I didn't see it in theaters, but like I ended up seeing The World's End. But like I remember I distinctly remember a moment where I got offended when somebody said that Shaun of the Dead was a dumb movie. I got so offended because I'm like, okay, it's okay if you don't like zombie movies or you don't like the genre or you don't like the movie, but to say it's dumb, I'm gonna have some words because
I don't think that person's a Edgar Wright fan then.
it's just Shaun of the Dead. I think is probably one of the smartest comedies ever made. Like
Wow.
I'll go into that and say like it's up there as like one of the most highly detailed, super clever, like beginning to end, like smartest movies.
Hmm. That's a good point.
Mhm. Well, like I think it was just like the because I feel like some of what the comedy works is just like it's just Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are just these two idiots that are just trying to survive like a zombie apocalypse. But I feel like you find, but again, it's kind of an homage to the genre, and you do see a lot of like you do see a few idiotic characters in the horror genre, but it was also but you do find a little more clever characters in say like the zombie genre, like in say like George A. Romero's. Have you seen Night of the Living Dead?
I haven't seen that actually. It's been
It's
on my
good.
watch list for forever, but I haven't
It's
seen it.
it's good. You got to go through like the main three. It's Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and then Day of the Dead.
Do you
Uh,
have not to I mean, if you want to say more about Sean Head, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead, man.
Well, I was curious, like generally, what do you have a rankings of his films? Sounds like you rate Shaun of the Dead pretty highly.
Yeah, like my one and my honestly, I feel like I always bounce back and forth because like Hot Fuzz seems to always be at the top, then it goes like to Shaun of the Dead, but then I got to put Shaun of the Dead up top, then Hot Fuzz. It's usually just one of those two. Then I put Baby Driver, um, The World's End, then Scott Pilgrim. I think that's a worthy five.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I rate Scott Pilgrim higher. Maybe just because I've seen that one the most,
Mm-hmm.
and like to me that seems like the most I don't know. I get them. I think I have the most fun out of with that one out of the other ones, even though they're all fun.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'd still say Shaun of the Dead is like if I you can't deny the quality of that. So that
Mhm.
one's got to be top.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever heard like I know so much like behind the scenes stuff of Shaun of the Dead because I'm a nerd, but one of the fun but an interesting tidbit is that this is Edgar Wright. He's in his like I think it was like 29 or 30 directing like this like multi-million dollar like feature film. And a lot of people like understandably sort of underestimated his like his skill, his prowess of how polished of a director he could truly be. So what he did to challenge everyone on the first day of production of Shaun of the Dead is that the first two shots they did in the same day of the first day are the oneers of Shaun going from his house to the convenience store. He shot both those oneers in the same day, first day of production. After that, nobody questioned his skill.
Wow,
Yeah. I mean, like,
crazy.
well, like, even if you listen to Edgar Wright talk about his interviews, he's just, if you had to go back to Shaun of the Dead, what would you have done? He's like, well, I probably would have worn like more grown up clothes and like probably would have grown a beard faster, some shit like that.
What other Shaun of the Dead facts do you know?
So all the zombies are like the extras. They were all fans of the television series Spaced. So but like they couldn't really afford to pay them. So the way they reached out to these extras, they were just like there was just some forum saying like, hey, come to our site to be a zombie. We can only pay you £1 because that's what's in our budget. So all the zombies are paid £1, which is like $2. $2 for like a day to be a zombie and like going through all that makeup, being on like maybe only doing like 10 like 5 or 10 minutes of acting. And then like who knows how many days they were there, like maybe like 4 or 5 days, just like doing those little supplementary things.
I love it.
Mhm.
It's for the love of space.
But yeah, it's the total fandom. Um, shit, what's another one? I think it's also just all the visual like background things I think are super interesting. Like all the zombies, like or all like the extras, like in the beginning in the opening montage, make appearances as zombies later in the movie,
Oh, I didn't know that.
or like background extras make reappearances. Like you got you like or there's also so many other good gags. Like do you know like do you know Liz's roommate, like Shaun's girlfriend and her roommates? Do you remember them?
Hmm.
Do you remember the guy that that wears glasses? Remember that? Like, do you remember the character I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What
Okay.
was it?
Uh I'm blanking on his name.
It's
I
fine.
think
Go ahead.
it's
Just
Liz. Yeah.
tell me the story.
Okay. Well, it's not really a story, but it's like a gag in it. But like Shaun is like freaking out on Liz, and he's getting an argument, and he and his roommate is just saying something smart, like, Shaun, I wouldn't have said that if you're. And Shaun just says, "Get fucked, Four Eyes," and when he doesn't have his glasses on. So it's just like it's a nice little movement to kind of see this insult, but just like it totally bombs because he's not wearing glasses. So like he just takes his glasses down for that 1 second, and it's just one of those little things that like fuck the fucking detail in that like it just works so well. Like it's all that detail.
It's funny.
Mm-hmm. But also like if you also see in the background in one of the shots you see well do you have you ever thought of why Shaun has so many like records, like when they're chucking records at the zombies?
Mm-mm.
Well, in the background in Shaun's apartment you see that he has a poster of like of him playing music, and he used to be a DJ. So that's what he was like prior to being a salesman. He used to be a DJ, and his nickname was Shaun Smiley Riley, and Riley is his last name. So just kind of like a cool little Easter egg to find.
Hmm.
So many other great Easter eggs though. But even like I still have to praise the score of it though as well, because I think the most iconic kind of music scene in there is probably the "Don't Stop Me Now" when they're when they're beating up the bartender.
Yeah, that is pretty iconic. I will admit that
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
And yeah, and then that I think that started as like the predecessor for what would become a Baby Driver.
Yeah.
Now kind of going forward, like, so you said Shaun of the Dead's, I'm sorry, Scott Pilgrim is your favorite. So, well, like, why would you consider that your favorite? Like, what do you think it's done different as opposed to like the other Cornetto trilogy films?
Um, I don't know. I don't know if it necessarily if it's done different. I just know that I kind of like this. I mean, I definitely like the story of that one, and I don't know. I I just remember that one being, yeah, really funny and fun. Like I like the whole music aspect of it and like the battling of the bands and all that. Um,
Well, I can agree with that, and I think I also like the kind of like subtle metal references, like with the narration, saying like even kind of going to the beginning, like the over the top narration, like once upon a time in Toronto, Canada, Scott Pilgrim is dating a high schooler, and then like there's always like the quick like background exposition saying like Scott Pilgrim has had a haircut in like 14 months or something like that. The last time he had a haircut was when he got broken up. It was some shit like that.
yeah, I like the song too. I forget what it's called. Black Lamb or something.
What was it? What I'm trying to actually think of the Sex Bomb, like what the Clash of Demon Head is that what it is?
Could be. I don't actually remember either.
No, I think I'm confusing the actual like the bands, and I think I'm confusing the bands in the movie because I know Sex Bomb was their band, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think actually the song that was in that movie by Sex Bomb was written by Beck, if I remember correctly.
Um, I don't know.
I think that was
Trying
like
to trying to look it up.
yeah, I think that was a fun little behind the scenes thing is
Yep.
that it was written by Beck. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good song.
Well, but I also think I appreciate it because I think it's also the only sort of like it's based off a comic book, but it's probably the most video game movie ever made. Like if you had to consider it like a comic book movie or like a video game movie, I would probably put in the box of a video game movie. It's not based on a video game, but it's very much like that.
Yeah. Very like yeah, techno retro video game. A lot of a lot of graphics. A lot of little graphics that come up. Um yeah, I mean, I think anything also anything with Michael Cera just naturally becomes like a degree funnier too, just because he's a funny person.
Well, the reason Edgar Wright casted him is because he needed a lovable asshole. And even like Edgar Wright has gone on to say that in interviews, saying like, yeah, like I wanted somebody who like someone who could be likable, but Scott Pilgrim is not a good guy. Like he's cheating on his girlfriend, kind of lying. Like you need someone who like you can root for, but like but could still like be cheeky.
Yeah, he seems like a guy who's just kind of like who's an asshole, but also like, maybe he's just out of his element, you know?
Well, like
But
I
so
feel like
you
that's
get that feeling, but then like no, actually he's just kind of mean.
well, like I feel like what's also just helpful for Michael Cera is just like he has a very like reserved and like almost wimpy demeanor. Like I like it's not intimidating. So like when he has those moments, he just it doesn't. I think that just like that's just him like just trying to like I don't mean to be, but I am just doing this. Now, kind of going forward, like so we've talked a little bit about Hot Fuzz. Sorry, we talked about Shaun. If I can ever speak, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. What about Hot Fuzz? Do you remember when you ever saw Hot Fuzz?
I don't remember. It was college time, but I do know. I'm pretty sure that was the first Edgar Wright movie I saw, and I don't know why it was that one in particular. Maybe just because it was like on Netflix. Maybe it was just like accessibility.
Yeah, I think that was the same for me. Like, I think I saw it on Netflix too, and it was just one of those movies that like I like because I knew who like Simon Pegg and Nick Frost were. I'd also seen Paul. I think that came around that time.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, I'll give this a watch. And maybe I didn't know who Edgar Wright was then, because now that I'm trying to think about it, like I think it was just like right around that time I was slowly figuring out who he was. But yeah, so I watched that movie, and I think I think that's I always have to balance between Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, but I just love that movie because like it's everything that like it's making fun of the action like cop genre, but while like also being like a clever mystery film at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It yeah, it seems like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think like the draw is kind of like the mystery aspect of it, just like the investigation of it all. Like I think, you know, something you don't get in others is like, oh, you're generally interested in like what's gonna happen, but then along the way you're getting all these gags and
Mhm.
all this comedy. So it's like a cool two-way entertainment avenue.
Yeah, well, like it's very much like a mystery film, like Chinatown. I mean, I obviously a film that like they made fun of as well, but I think that's what's like the clever thing about it is that it doesn't dumb down its plot because it's comedy. It's a clever plot with just not the brightest of characters, and I think that's what
Mhm.
uh, Edgar Wright does so well. Like his plots are super clever, but just his characters aren't. But and like even kind of going along with the mystery in Hot Fuzz, that mystery is still what plot is still plausible. Like they kind of go into this like idea that like there was a guy who was like trying to buy land, and then like because it was worth a lot more, it was like and then like somebody found, and then like the reporter found out about it, so like all of these people were getting killed off. But and it's still highly plausible even though it wasn't the motive of the movie. It was just for them to like, we just want a village award, best village.
Do you have do you know any facts or like behind the scenes stuff for this one?
Facts. Okay, so I do know a bit. So Tarantino actually tried to do a scene reminiscent of that. Well, like when Tarantino was writing Kill Bill, he wanted to do a scene where like these giants or like bigger beings were kind of on this town, almost like Godzilla, but he couldn't figure out a way to do it. But Edgar Wright was able to, and he was so jealous of it. He means like if you ever watch the audio commentary to Hot Fuzz with Quentin Tarantino, he'll go on to say that. So, so like it was just one of those things that like he was so jealous of Edgar Wright to being able to figure this out. And I'm like, yeah, like it's just one of those little things, and it also paid like perfect like for it was also perfect foreshadowing considering like uh they're trying to be like a best village town, and they have this fight in their model village which they're trying to emulate. It was just super clever. But another thing was one of the most expensive shots in the film was when Nick Frost and Simon Pegg were watching Point Break. Like, do you remember when they're in their flat watching Bad Boys 2 and Point Break?
Yeah.
Well, they had to get like the copyrights to that movie, and they needed the approval of Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze, who was still alive at the time, and not only those two actors, who were the only two actors they like needed the show in the film, they also needed Patrick Swayze's stunt double, who is climbing the fence for that scene that they just saw Keanu Reeves chasing Patrick Swayze, but they also need the stunt double's permission to be able to use that footage. So there were three people they had to pay, like in addition to the studio, they had to get permission from those three people: Patrick Swayze, Keanu Reeves, and the stunt double.
And Patrick Swayze's stunt double. It's quite a trio.
But I'm also trying to think of all the movies that they spoofed in that series, because there was like Point Break, like the Michael Bay Bad Boys movies. Like I think it was also spoofing like some Steven Seagal films. I never really watched Steven Seagal though. But then like there's like Chinatown. I think it was another one. I'm trying to think of like other detective movies they may have been spoofing.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't think it was like anything like in the film noir. I think they try to keep it specifically with like sort of like 90s cops films, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of cool how all of these, like, I like how people actually appreciate these movies too. Like, I don't know, like, would you consider like him having like a culty following, or is he still pretty popular in your eyes? Because he seems like not too culty to me. Like, I feel like a lot of people get him.
I think Baby Driver he got into the mainstream. I think that was the thing because I think with the Cornetto trilogy, it felt like a bit of like an in group, especially with something with Spaced as well. Like having Spaced and the Cornetto trilogy, it felt like a very kind of like something like very like okay, you watch with a group of friends, just like it felt very small that not knew everyone knew about. I feel like Baby Driver and Last Night in Soho might like they're just bigger films that just gotten wider releases and like I feel like it, and this was also at a time where he didn't have movie stars. Simon Pegg was nowhere near as famous as he is now.
Yeah, yeah. The last two definitely, it's, you can tell because it's not Nick Frost and Simon Pegg.
Yeah, well, it's also like he has access to movie stars now. I mean, like he had Jamie Foxx and John Hamm in Baby Driver. He also has Anya Taylor Joy and well, not I guess not as famous as recently, but Matt Smith, Doctor Who, in Last Night in Soho.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe like I wonder, I guess like when the Cornetto trilogy came out, like it was I guess it probably was more culty back then, just like when they were coming out, but us
Mm-hmm.
kind of catching up, and then quickly Baby Driver, well, relatively quickly Baby Driver comes out.
Yeah,
You don't really get that journey.
yeah. He would have really entered the mainstream had Ant-Man got made. Well, his Ant-Man.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah. I still think we would have like it's disappointing because I think he would have made a much better Ant-Man than I think I can't remember the name of the director. I think it was like Joe something. Joe something. I'm blanking on it, but I think he would have made a much better Ant-Man because I think it's I don't think Ant-Man's a bad movie, but also there's nothing too special about it either. I like Paul Rudd, but just it just
Yeah, I
seemed
feel like Paul
very
Rudd, just
yeah.
it's relying on him. The enjoyment of it is relying on him.
Yeah, I will say like him and Michael Douglas have good chemistry, but just but the effects were good, but it was just like it didn't really have like any sort of compelling villain whatsoever.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, back to like his status, I would say like I feel like he was breaking out even a little bit before Baby Driver. Like I feel like Scott Pilgrim is still something that it's like, I mean, it's not the Cornetto trilogy, and it has, Michael Cera. So I feel like he was starting to break out into kind of more mainstream audiences around then. And that was like 2010, I think.
Yeah, so
I
you're
don't know, like
talking
what did he, oh, and then, well, The World's End, I guess, was after that. But
yeah, I think World's End was 2013. But again, like it was pretty much like the 2000s and early 2010s is when he was like very much in that sort of cult scene. But like I think but Scott Pilgrim, I think, was supposed to be like originally like his big catapult into mainstream because that was the first like sort of big studio picture that he did with Universal. But like then he went back to British films and shortly after that.
you mentioned like seeing Shaun of the Dead, like on Comedy Central and stuff. I feel like for me it was like Scott Pilgrim. Like I feel like I've seen that on TV and a lot too.
I've never really seen Scott Pilgrim on TV, but I think it was just one of those films that I think I looked it up, or maybe I bought it, or and then like I just continued watching it. But I don't. I'm just trying to remember I ever saw it on TV. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like trying to get adjusted. Like I decided to not do this at my desk because I'm like super lazy today. Terrible.
So should we talk about The World's End or go to Baby Driver?
We can do The World's End. Like so honestly, I'm I think in general audiences consider The World's End its weakest, but I think the older I've gotten, the more fond I've actually been to The World's End, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like the that makes sense with its kind of themes and like
Mhm.
its purpose and stuff.
Well, like, have you seen it more times than the one time I think I've shown you? Because I think you have.
Nope, I've
Because I
only
think
seen it once.
okay, yeah. Because I think with each Cornetto film, I like to try to give it like at least one watch per year.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I've only seen this one once, and yeah, I'd say it's the one I remember the least.
I think that's the why. Like, I think it's good because it makes me want to go back and rewatch it because it feels like I'm experiencing the Cornetto trilogy kind of anew again. But I feel like now that I've seen it so many times, I kind of lost that. But I definitely felt the same way when I first started watching The World's End.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But again, like that, it's kind of the same with like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. It's just a super detailed movie. Like even with like the names of the characters, like uh I can strangely remember like most of the characters' name. There's uh Simon Pegg's character, his name is Gary King. There's cannot I'm blanking on the actor's name, but the character's name is Peter Prince. You have Andrew Knightley, Peter Page. They're kind of like these homages to like knighthood and kind of like and nobility. So just felt like very much like kind of like the Knights of the Round Table sort of like adventure, but it's about modern day drinking and a sci-fi like and a sci-fi alien invasion movie. So just felt like a very interesting blend of like mesh, but it was just such like but like again, it's just like it's a clever way to kind of like get your characters and like this plot and then like just start throwing in genre.
Yeah. What's like, would you say there's something that this movie did different from kind of the others that came before?
That's what I'm trying to think. I mean, I definitely feel like the characters are much smarter, with the exception of maybe Simon Pegg, because while Simon Pegg was probably the most clever character in Hot Fuzz, he's without question the stupidest character in The World's End, and same with like Nick Frost. Nick Frost is probably the most clever character in The World's End. But
Do you think that
I
was just like a like, all right, now it's your turn to be the stupid one?
well, like yeah, I mean it's kind of like Abbott and Costello, but they're switching roles. So just like it was kind of like a nice sort of like it's a way for them to keep it fresh, especially when you know they're both capable of doing those things. And I feel like Nick Frost was never able to kind of flex that side because he was always the funny man. And we're like, okay, let me be the straight guy for this. And then like, then we'll but again, it kind of shows their versatility even more so in comedy.
Yeah.
I think another thing that I really appreciate that movie is the ending. Like, because it's kind of it's a pretty dark ending, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's I don't know, does it gets you into the mind of Edgar Wright?
Well, I mean,
It's
like, yeah, I mean, like, because if you think about like Shaun of the Dead, like that's an apocalypse movie with a happy ending, like with a sweet little like romantic ending, but then like you get but then you get The World's End, like it's kind of a dark ending, and you're trying to find the sweetness with it because the entire world is like destroyed.
mm-hmm.
I think I also appreciate that the literal ending of the movie is the title. Like the title's a spoiler.
Yeah, I like the scale of it. I like how just it just keeps surprising you with how like how big the stakes are.
Mhm. But again, like this again, another like sort of detail of Edgar Wright is well, there's a few things about the world's end that I really like. One little detail, if you look at the background in that film, all the cars in the background are the same. If you look at the background, everyone's driving the exact same model of car. And that's
Why?
very well, it's about the idea of like everybody is kind of like a carbon copy of each other, like they're all clones, so they're all the same. So that's supposed to be kind of like a foreshadow into like, all these everyone is kind of like a blank, like a carbon copy. They're all the same.
Mhm.
And I think and that's also like a really clever thing that I really liked about that movie too, was when they're trying to come up with a name for these, like, not like for their robots. They couldn't think of a name, so they're just like, we're drawing a blank with this. Okay, well, those two blanks out there, like, and that just stuck throughout the movie. So it's again playing into the wordplay that Edgar Wright is very famous for. Like, like in Hot Fuzz, you're pulling my leg, and then it comes to like a serial killer just like dragging a body from the leg. So just again playing with the wordplay that like Edgar Wright is like renowned for.
What are do you know what like Edgar Wright's influences were?
Good. I can list off his favorite movies. Like Don't Look Now. It's Nicholas Rogue. If It's a really good movie, a really interesting. It's with Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie. Definitely but one of the best horror films like that not many people know about. It's really for like the cinefreaks sort of deal, cinephiles. The other one, An American Werewolf in London. Raising Arizona. I feel like the Coen brothers are very influential to Edgar Wright. I think specifically Raising Arizona.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of another one. Like Edgar Wright, he's a total cinephile. I mean, like he know like when you hear someone like Martin Scorsese or like Quentin Tarantino saying like they're like encyclopedias of film, like they just know all these directors, know all these films, know all the actors, and like kind of have like a network and like and they're like their whole brain is a reference for cinema. Edgar Wright is exactly in that same category. Like he's one of the few like handful of directors. While like yes, like being a filmmaker, you are a fan of cinema, but I think he's in a higher tier where you can put him where like he has that encyclopedic knowledge of a Scorsese, like of a master filmmaker. And I think
Hmm.
like he's not given that due credit of being at that scale, like because he is incredibly knowledgeable and not quite given that recognition. Not that he's looking for that, not that he needs that validation, but just like he's not really given that high esteem by
What's his
the audience.
what's his background? Did he also work in work in a video store?
No, I think he was just like, more like a Paul Thomas Anderson sort of deal, like just kind of made shorts growing up. And then if I remember correctly, he just won like a video camera from some sort of contest, then like made more shorts. Then he made a feature while he was in art college that called A Fistful of Fingers, and that kind of catapulted him into kind of getting like some more gigs. But like it
Hmm.
was very much more like a Paul Thomas Anderson thing, because no, like he didn't have like he didn't have a family member or like know anybody in the industry. So he just kind of grew up just watching movies and like, just kind of went from there.
That's really cool.
Mhm. Now, so I'm trying to think of another thing from so I think we'll just go into Baby Driver. So you and I think we saw this together, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Now, like where do you put this on your list? Like what's your ranking for this, like with the Cornetto films and Scott Pilgrim?
Mm, I don't know. I haven't actually thought about the rankings too much. Besides, I don't know. I think I I don't think it's like too high. Like I mentioned, Shaun of the Dead is actually my favorite, and then I do have Scott Pilgrim, and then it's kind of like I don't know. Is it Baby Driver? Is it Hot Fuzz? Um, Kind of somewhere there.
Hmm.
It's a solid entry into his into what I've seen of him.
Hmm. No, I agree. And I think it's honestly like one of his most rewatchable movies. I think the only thing I find disappointing with it is the romance um with Ansel Elgort and Lily James. Like I think it's a little underdeveloped, but still like quite nice.
Yeah, yeah, I get that.
Hmm.
But really cool car scenes.
That like honestly, I was blown like it was just I'm so glad like he did like a badass car sequence in the first 5 minutes. And that's not easy. Like that's like that shit was a pain. That shit must have been a pain in the ass to shoot. Like did I ever tell you like so John Barenthal's in the movie for like what the first 15 minutes?
Mhm.
So I don't know if you knew this, but like he had to go I think it was shot in Atlanta. He had to make trips back and forth from LA to Atlanta, I think 9 different times to like do reshoots for that car sequence.
That sounds awful. Would be pissed.
Like, and he was only in it for he was only in the movie for the first 15 minutes. He had to go back like
Yeah.
8 or 9 different times to just do reshoots.
But he's in a few different scenes, right? Like,
No, like he was only in that like he did the car sequence, then they're counting the money, and that was it.
okay,
He was
I guess
he
that's
was
what. Yeah, I guess that's what I was thinking of. That like they were in the warehouse area too.
yeah.
But yeah,
Well, like it's also like what I'm thinking about with John Bernthal is his character say is when he left, his last line was like, "Okay, if you don't see me again, it means I'm dead." I do kind of think that he is dead.
probably. I mean, given the wordplay in Edgar Wright's movies,
Mhm. Yeah, and I would also say that like it does make me think that would he have been in like the next like operation? Like would he have been with Jamie Foxx and Baby in that next mission? And I think there may have been like a possibility that that would have been the case if there was an option.
true. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
Hmm. But yeah, I think he's dead. No, no, knowing Edgar Wright, like knowing how detailed he is, I think he's dead.
So sad. I like John Barenthal.
I think you like. I think it was also around this time when Baby Driver came out. We saw Wind River, and you're like, okay, I love John Bernthal, but I need more of him because like he keeps getting like these small roles in these big films that are great, but just like he's only in it for like 1 or 2 scenes.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Someone get that man a lead role.
Well, I mean, there's always Punisher. Can watch a full season of Punisher.
I feel like I started that just because of John Barenthal, but just like I just didn't have enough interest in this, in the story, and
Yeah,
I stopped it. But I
yeah.
feel like I'm trying to think oh, he's actually in the new Many Saints of Newark.
Oh, the Sopranos movie, right?
Yeah.
Is it bad for me to say I've never seen The Sopranos? I think I've seen like one episode, but like I've never seen the show, really.
I saw it at the beginning of quarantine. Good show,
Hmm.
obviously.
Obviously.
He,
I mean like it was given so much praise. I would hope it's a good show.
he was also in Peanut Butter Falcon, which I love.
I'm trying to think who was he in Peter Butter Falcon? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Because I just remember Shia LaBeouf and like kind of the ending.
Yeah.
That's all I can really remember.
Well, regardless, it was another. Oh, he was the brother. See, another freaking small role. Maybe that's the way he likes it. He's
Yeah.
like, I'll make this amount of money, enjoy being on sets and helping out on these projects, but it's not
Well,
worth to do.
well, like it keeps his stock high, if that makes sense. Like, because well, like as like being a part of movies, you do want to make good projects, but it's also like a clever move because yes, you could make more money doing a lead role, but like, is it gonna be like a shit movie? That there's a strong chance that I might, or I can do this like small little supporting role. It'll keep my kind of like prestige level high, and like I'll be getting like a good I'll be in a good movie, and like it's kind of nice that you do have actors that are still like that, and I think a lot of actors once they're kind of like they can kind of get going, like they want to do stuff like that. They can wait for the good stuff, but I think it's a little disappointing when you have like high accoladed actors that still do like garbage projects, like Cats, for instance. You have like all these A-list actors that are just in this garbage movie.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you don't understand it, but sometimes it's not always clear from their end.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it might just be a contract thing. I mean, that's what like, like you do have actors like Edward Norton who's like, I only want to do like good projects, but there's like some sort of like contract loophole that he's got to do some sort of like blockbuster thing. Like that's how what happened with him with I think it was The Italian Job. He had to do it and
Really?
then like he didn't promote it. Oh yeah, Edgar Wright's in The Italian Job, and he didn't want to do the movie. He wanted to wait for something else, but he because I think that like some studios they offer like picture deals, like you're doing 3 movies with us, and like you might have like a certain term to fulfill those 3 movies. So I think his contract was running out and he had to do it. So like I get there's maybe some contract stipulations that might happen, but I think I just still like the idea that actors should wait for the good stuff or like should be a part of the good stuff.
Yeah.
Now, another thing that I wanted to bring up with Edgar Wright, something a little lesser known of him. Do you know Grindhouse, the Robert Rodriguez Tarantino?
Yeah.
So, did you ever see Don't?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's like one of the spoof trailers. I'll put it up here right now. Because it's because Grindhouse did like a series of like fake trailers to go along with the double feature, and like one of them's like Machete, that starred Danny Trejo,
Okay.
that eventually got made into a movie. So it was like a fake trailer that got made into a movie. There's a sequel to
Really?
it
They
too.
made it.
Yeah, there's I think there was also another one called the Werewolf Women of the SS. Is like another one. But and that was directed by Rob Zombie. But like they had one called Don't that was directed by Edgar Wright. So let me see if I can find it real quick. I'll play it for you. But it's one of his like again little lesser known projects, but it's so like perfect for Edgar Wright, and especially like he's about to do horror right now. So and it's a bit of a horror thing. So let me see if I can play it real quick. Hold on, let me just I gotta share this audio real quick.
If you are thinking of going into this house, don't. If you are thinking of opening this door, don't. If you are thinking of checking out the basement, don't. Don't look behind. Don't look either. Don't look up. Don't look anywhere. Don't scream for help. Don't move. Don't even breathe. Don't. 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 If you are thinking of seeing this film alone, don't.
Yeah, so
They made
classic.
that
Like
into a movie.
they should they should make it into a movie. But yeah, just like, but I feel like that's kind of like a nice little like again Edgar Wright is someone who just clearly knows genre so well. So like to kind of do like a crappy B movie parody, just fucking perfect. You should just. It's okay if you haven't seen Grindhouse. They're not. I don't think the movies are that good, but the trailers are really funny. But like, yeah, so Edgar Wright did one of them. It was Rob Zombie did another one, The Werewolf Woman of the SS, and I think Robert Rodriguez did the trailer for Machete, and then of course did the directed the movies of Machete 1 and 2.
Hmm.
Now, but I'm also trying to think like I think we'll probably wrap this up here shortly, but probably the future of Edgar Wright. I'm curious of like what sort of genres he's probably tackling next, because he's tackled like two areas of genre. He's done like action police, he's done car chases, and he's done a western, and he's done sci-fi. I'm trying to think of what's next for him, and I think like it's got to be something in the realm of horror when you like, or maybe like because maybe he wants to finish off like a trilogy of horror. He's got Shaun of the Dead. He's doing this kind of like Last Night in Soho. Maybe he'll try to sprinkle in another one.
Could be. Yeah, I feel like horror is right down his alley.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could see him doing another one after Soho as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like and again, it's also this is what like he's probably the most versatile director, at least in my opinion. Like there, like what I like to say is that when I first came out here, I have my hard drive full of movies. Like, yes, I have like Scorsese, Spielberg. I have like got the entire series of Breaking Bad and that all that jazz. There was only two directors that I have their entire filmography of. Stanley Kubrick, Edgar Wright. Those are the only two directors.
What a pair.
I've got Hitchcock. I've got Hitchcock films. I've got like, yeah, like again, like Spielberg, Fincher, like, but like, yeah, Edgar Wright and Stanley Kubrick are the only two that I have their entire filmographies.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's cool that he's still like pretty young too.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's got plenty more movies. You feel
Yeah.
like?
I think he's honestly one of the most exciting filmmakers to look forward to. Like Tarantino, like specifically define what an exciting filmmaker is, and it's like their best work is yet to come. And like I think that's still kind of true. Like I think you could still like look for like another masterful piece of work, like because I think even with like someone like David Fincher, who has been making movies for 25 years, I think he still has like another Social Network in him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think there's another Shaun of the Dead easily with Edgar Wright.
I think so too. I think he can, especially now that he's getting these bigger budgets, bigger actors and stuff. Like I just feel like he can not just like quality wise. I think he can he'll get there and make a hit. Maybe he'll make his own Ant-Man just without the big name franchise behind him.
Yeah. I think it's honestly more Marvel, because I felt like they try to like I think Edgar Wright is such an auteur that like you can't really like, and I think for those sort of films they need like a consistent style. Like he's too much of an auteur, like he can't really deviate as much with him.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Not that it sounds egotistical, but just really thinking about a film like Scott Pilgrim and The World's End, I just don't know if those styles would mesh well with well, maybe Scott Pilgrim, but just like The World's End, I don't think that sort of style would mesh well in like in a superhero movie, at least in a Marvel superhero movie. I should clarify.
Yeah, but I think he's got so much time that his style could change too.
Mm-hmm.
Like we'll see about Last Night in Soho. Could be a start of that, of some sort of change.
I feel you, dude. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
By the way, you mentioned the Social Network. I was thinking the other day, like, I feel like there could be a Social Network 2. There could be a Social Network 3 too. But like, I don't know like the recent announcement how they're like changing their company name, like
Oh, to Meta, the parent company.
yeah, to Meta.
Yeah.
It's like you can make a few social networks about just this parallel Mark Zuckerberg.
I mean, like truly you can. I mean, I would just say it would seem weird if they did like a direct sequel to it with Jesse Eisenberg and Fincher. I think that would be a little strange. But even then, I think it should just be like, yeah, like a kind of like a standalone sequel to it, if that makes sense. Kind of like a Mad
Yeah.
Max Fury Road, like a standalone sequel.
I think so. I think you've got plenty material there,
Yeah.
but I digress.
Yeah. But no, but like I know there was always talks about it, but I think there is something to it. I think it would make a pretty killer feature, but again, you're also going to be at the level of trying to succeed off The Social Network, which is like pretty on top of like the best film of the 2010s, in the top 5 probably.
I think David Fincher will do it. I
Yeah.
think he could. I think he would do it.
I don't think he would do it. I don't think he's necessarily too against it, but I just think he would probably try to do something else.
I could see him coming back to it. I just think there's so much material there. He couldn't stay away.
You got to get Aaron Sorkin to write it though.
He would. Aaron Sorkin would do it.
Mhm.
I'm just giving these guys blind confidence. my blind confidence in them. They'll do it.
Yeah, but like I'm just trying to like I will say like the thing that I like about David Fincher is like even though I wasn't a fan of Mank, I still respected the fact that you kind of fulfilled on your father's vision. I respect that.
Yeah.
Like even though I wasn't a big fan of the movie, that like the fact that like you're willing to still do it and you're still kind of doing these sort of passion projects, like is still like kudos to him.
Yeah.
Again, dude, you got to check out Mindhunter. Mindhunter.
Oh, I never told you. I did.
Oh shit. What you think?
I watched it all. And it was pretty great. The second season, I like the second season a lot, but it was like I didn't understand the direction it went. Like I feel like there are multiple story threads that were just like in the writer's room or in the Netflix studio that were very like there's a lot of opinions about it, and you just kind of like it ended up being what it was being, which I really liked. But at the end of the day, I was like, all right, I guess we're here now. Like we just followed this really one specific storyline the entire season, when I don't know, the first season kind of set it up as something not too specific, I guess. Even the beginning of the second season, I was like, it seemed just to pick up of the threads of the first season and really focus on like the internal stuff of Holton. That's Holden.
Yeah, Holden.
Of him. And then like midway through, it just like stops focusing on his psyche and just starts following this like Atlanta killer's case.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I appreciated about it. And like, and even then, like, well, I do like that season 2 can end the series. I just feel like one more season would just be like, okay, let's just like top it off, because I feel like there are just a lot of unanswered storylines, especially with this with the partner. I'm blanking on his name, but like with him and his kid.
Yeah, and then also the freaking guy in each of the
BTK killer. Yeah, the cold opens.
Yeah, the cold opens. I'm like, like what are they? Are we just gonna see 5 minutes of this dude do weird shit for forever?
Well, like, okay, I feel like we're kind of deviating from the Edgar Wright talk, but like I'm cool with this. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out with that whatchamacallit. So I don't know if you've ever researched the BTK killer. Like I think his name is Dennis something. Not Dennis Rodman, but Dennis something. Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman killed. Yeah. Dennis Rodman's a serial killer. You didn't know that? But yeah. So he was caught, I think, in the 2000s. So like more than 20 years past the timeline of the show. So I'm just wondering, are they gonna even more fictionalize the show, because I think I think what Fincher tries to do is that the timelines stay relatively realistic to real life, but the characters are fictional. So, and I think he's like, and he did something similar with Zodiac. Same with like the social network. Like these timelines are fairly realistic, but just the kind of characters are kind of trivial or just like more fictionalized. So
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be like maybe like a subtle cat and mouse thing in the third season. But I don't think. But the ending is that they're not going to catch him. At least I don't think so. Unless like they have like a Harry Potter like Deathly Hallows Part 2 ending. They age him up and be
Yeah.
like, okay, like let's have like a send off moment. Like we finally catch this guy.
Yeah, but it feels very Fincher-esque to not have him catch it and to
Yeah,
end.
exactly. I also just realized, like I think a few weeks ago that the second Zodiac cipher was solved. Did you ever know that?
Yep, I did see that.
I never knew that, and I watched like the entire like one of the people that solved the ciphers, the code breakers. They completely like did a breakdown of how they solved it. I was very like stunned because I had no idea that they solved it. But
Yeah, I thought that was
yeah.
pretty cool.
I also just like that it wasn't just like a lone person's theory, and I like that it's like everyone's accepted it. Like it's one of those rare moments that like a group of people independently did it and just unanimously like everybody has accepted it. That is the solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I don't know. I hope we get Mindhunter season 3 at some point.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. Then Edgar Wright should get in the Netflix game. He should make his own television series again.
Yeah.
All right. I think we'll end it there. I think we're approaching on the hour or whatever it is. But yeah, dude, do what you need to do. Thanks again for coming in for the chat. Just let me know what you want to do here in a few weeks, like 3 weeks. Just like pick a topic. Let me know. I'm down for anything.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let you know. Yeah, don't have too many ideas right now, but we'll figure something out.
Did you watch Squid Game?
No, I don't think I'm gonna watch it, but I've heard good things.
Yeah, I watched it. It's super popular, man. Like even like people like I guarantee if you go out for Halloween tonight, you're gonna see so many people dressed up as it, like dressed up as characters in the show.
Yeah, I was out last night. I only went to one place, so I didn't see many people, but I've like heard like that's gonna be the Halloween costume of the year this year.
If you see someone in a green tracksuit or with a number on it, or like a pink jumper, like a Walter White sort of like meth cooking like pink jumper, then like okay, then like what? And then specifically with like a black mask with a shape on it, then like that's
yeah, it's the mask. I feel like I'd recognize the mask.
Gotcha. All right, dude. I'll catch you later, man. Have fun tonight.
Yeah. Hope you get better for tomorrow.
Not gonna happen, but I appreciate it. Take it easy, dude.
It's the best. Yep. See ya.
See ya.